I'm Rebecca Seyller, and I'm the principal broker at Rice Realty.
I'm Kevin McPherson. I'm a sales agent here at Rice Realty.
We are dipping our toe into this podcast world. We love all things real estate and enjoy talking about it with just about anybody who'll listen, especially each other. We're kind of house nerds, and we thought maybe we would share some of our experiences and expertise with the podcast world. I am a transplant from Western New York to Southern Arkansas. I have been here in Arkansas for 28 years now and really love it. We have lived here in the same town for 28 years, and it's a town of about 10,000 or a little less. So we're pretty rural, and we have kind of a nice hometown feel. Lived several other places before I moved here and have lots of different experiences that have made me maybe who I am and might explain how I think and how I talk. Grew up in a small town of maybe 3,000 people in Western New York and went to college to become a special ed teacher. Did that, got my master's, my administrator's license, worked in education for 14 years, and then had an opportunity to buy this brokerage. So I have been here now 10 years and love every minute of it. It's my favorite job I've ever had. And it's just a great place to work and to come in every day and get to work with people and properties and just stay tuned to the market. It's a lot of fun.
I agree with that. This is the only job that I've ever had that I just love coming into work. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I truly look forward to coming to work every day.
Yeah, it's a really good atmosphere. We have a good team, and everybody's just very supportive of each other.
Oh yeah. I feel like if you're winning, I'm winning. So yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
Right.
That's what I want to hear. But what did you do before real estate?
Oh my goodness. I got out of high school and I went to paint and body school. I wanted to fix cars. I did that for a little bit and I got into painting airplanes. And then after that, I sold welding supplies for 10 years. And I always kind of was interested in real estate. Watched HGTV and stuff, and I wanted to give it a crack, and I'm so glad I did because it's really changed my life, and I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you have a father who was in a related field?
So my dad, growing up, he was an auctioneer. So we would travel around the state, and he'd sell farm equipment or estate sales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we went all over doing that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that probably is a fun job.
Yeah, it was interesting. Some of the people that you would work, in the auction game with, some of them weren't always the best situations, farmer going out of business or, estate sale, somebody may have passed away. So
yeah. And everybody's always trying to get a good deal.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that was something, I've been kind of selling stuff all my life. So real estate is very, very different than, selling anything else. So it's very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I was made to do this too.
Yeah.
With my family background, my dad was a house builder and then a commercial builder. And he did that in Western New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania area. One of the last houses he ever worked on was our home that we built 20 years ago here in Arkansas, and that was the last house he worked on before retiring. So I love that. My mom worked part-time on and off through my childhood and did some property management for a while. And so I had no dream to become a property manager, and I didn't really have a dream to become a realtor or a broker, but I did want to work with properties, and I thought maybe I'd follow my dad's footsteps and do some building. And then as you grow up, you have other interests that come in, and teaching was a big one for me. But, I tell everybody when they ask, well, how did you do this? Or why are you doing this now when you left teaching? Every job can help you out in the next job.
Oh, yeah.
You can learn, as long as you're always learning in life, the things you learned in one position can teach you something for the next role that you play. And teaching has really helped me in what I do. As a principal broker, I'm responsible for all my agents and making sure that they do their paperwork well.
Oh, yeah.
And also that they're explaining things to our clients well. I really love working with first-time home buyers. That's a good teaching lesson there.
It really is, because, you got to go over the contracts, and a lot of times they never bought a home before, so that's what you're doing. You have to teach them, and if they don't, they don't have a parent or something that's not a realtor, I mean, they're not going to know the process. Like, we do this every day, so we're a little bit more familiar with the process.
Yeah. And I think we do a good job because, to me, teaching and taking our ethics and just taking our jobs seriously and being professional means that we're going to go over our paperwork. We're going to advise them through the whole home buying process, the steps that they're going to need to take, and maybe some of the obstacles that might come up, kind of giving them a little heads up on those. It's been a lot of fun going from teaching to real estate to broker.
Yeah, and if you kind of tell them, lay out some of the scenarios beforehand, they're not so upset, like, when their offer gets rejected or they get hit with a counter. So
Yep. Always be ready for the counter.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Well, we in our brokerage, we do a lot of residential. We have we dip our toe in a little bit of commercial. There's not a whole lot in our area, but we do have some experience selling and leasing commercial properties. So we're kind of a jack of all trades, and have to be because of the size of our
Right,
community
yeah.
and where we live. So staying up on top of all that sometimes can be a little bit challenging. And we do have some first-time buyers that come to us, repeat buyers, or someone who's bought something before and moved here, and now because of relocation, they're looking for something. But we still want to make sure that our buyers are prepared for the process, and the best. If you're prepared, you're ready. You're ready to go look, make offers, and you're going to be informed. Even though we have a continual obligation to advise, right?
Right, yeah.
So what are some of the things we like to see our buyers equipped with? What tools do we want our buyers to have?
Okay, so the first thing I like to see my buyer have that pre-approval letter. Without the pre-approval letter, I don't want to be wasting your time, and I don't want my time to be wasted, of course, either. But that's going to give us an idea of where we need to be shopping in. Like, that way we're not just going around looking at random houses you may or may not be able to afford. And you're not going to, if we're doing that, you're going to be disappointed when you can't get it.
I also think a qualified buyer has already done some of the work. So we want our qualified buyers to be really in the know about this is what it takes to be able to go ahead and look and then make an offer.
Right.
So what do they need to expect from us?
Yeah, so we're going to do our due diligence and homework. Like, we're going to take the information that you give us, and you may be like, hey, Kevin, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath near or around this city. And we're going to do our best to find that for you. And they may throw in something, it has to be a blue house, so, that'll give us kind of a criteria of what you're looking for, and we'll work with you to find that.
Yeah. So where we live, it can be difficult to check all the boxes that a buyer
Right.
might have. And I think it's really important to tell buyers, make a list of what your needs are, then your wants. And we're going to try to find the best possible property that will meet the majority of those needs. Very seldom do we find one that meets all of them unless they have a very simple list.
Right. Yeah. We may not be able to check all the boxes, but we want to get 90% of them. We want to get the must-haves, and then some of the extras too.
I think that's part of our duty to give good advice, and ultimately, our clients make their own decisions, but we don't want them to step in this giant pothole that we see coming
Right.
without giving them a little heads up or warning.
No doubt.
But basically, yeah, our duty is to listen to them, try to show them properties that meet their needs, try to negotiate on their behalf for a real good contract price,
Oh, yeah.
and all the things that might make owning that home a little bit better or that property better, and then help them negotiate if needed.
Oh, yeah. I always tell everybody, those are just, we don't have to offer list price. We can come up with an offer that, you're comfortable with. And, I always encourage that.
There's some markets though you better go in strong, or they won't get the offer. For me, it's always, this is the buyer offer. It's
Right.
not my offer, it's the buyer's offer. This is the seller's offer. So they should know what their bottom line is,
Yes.
or their top price is, and we should make sure that we've said, you know what your payment's going to be. You feel comfortable with that. Sellers, you know where you want to be after the closing costs, and any prepaids maybe you've been asked to pay. Are you going to be okay with that? And have them decide. But if we think that this is the one,
Right.
we'll let them know that. Ultimately, still their decision. And that's some of the most fun part of our job, and sometimes the most frustrating part of
Oh,
our
yeah.
job.
It can definitely get stressful. But yeah, I always just try to present all the information and, advise them. I'm like, ultimately, you ask me, so I'm going to give you my advice. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. If you don't feel comfortable with doing it, here's all the information, make an informed decision.
Yeah, yeah. So we also, on the flip side, deal with a lot of sellers. And whether you're a buyer or seller, we like you to know what value we bring to the table, like what they can expect from us as their agent or brokerage, and just continual good communication through the whole process. We've gotten much better in the last year or so, marketing through social media
Oh, yeah.
and things. And so we've gotten pretty good at that. And so people want us to do virtual tours and things like that. We do a lot of comps. We give comps to sellers to let them know what to expect.
And it kind of helps the seller decide, where if they're undecided what their property's worth and where we need to list. It kind of gives a good starting point.
Yeah, yeah. I always say to my sellers, I really don't want to know what you want for your house yet. Let me go over the comps with you. And, they really want to talk about the number they want to, can I get this much? And I really try to have them hold off, because I want them to know that the comps I pulled are true comps. I didn't try to make something work
Right.
to get to the number that they hope to achieve. And so I tell them, just wait till I bring those comps to you. Let's go over them. Then, of course, I want to know what you were hoping to list for, or what you want to list for, because it's still their choice. But this way, you'll know that I did my due diligence without any influence of trying to meet an asking price.
I always tell people I make house calls, because if they can't come into the office, I'll come to there. I need to look at it anyway.
Yeah.
And they're always like, well, what do you think we need to list it for? And I'm like, well, this is from the comps. This is what I think, but ultimately it's your decision. It's your property, and you set the price.
Yeah. When the market is changing, coming out of two really just terrible real estate years,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden having a little burst of activity and getting some new listings going. And sometimes those comps aren't a good representation of what things are going to sell for now and appraise for now. We've been a little bit surprised by some of the higher appraisals than we expected. But it's kind of a changing market for us.
Those are always the good surprises. Oh, yeah.
So as far as getting those sellers ready, they typically call us. They want to know how much we're going to charge them,
Oh,
right?
yeah. They always want to know that.
It doesn't take long to get to that question, right?
yeah.
How much are you going to charge me?
I always like to have fun with it. I always tell them it's negotiable. I can do 6, 7, 8. We can go as high as you want to go.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is always negotiable too, right?
Yeah.
Everything's negotiable. So we don't have a set,
set
we
rate.
can't have a set commission rate, and things are always negotiable by your client, whether they're the buyer or the seller. And so that always keeps us on our toes too. We want to stay valuable, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And there is no set rate. So don't believe that if somebody tells you that.
And they're ready to write up the listing agreement
Right.
and get a sign in their yard. And we're ready to do that too.
Right.
But at the same time, we hope that they've done some home improvements, some cleanups, some ready the house for the listing.
Right. I always have that conversation, like, when we're meeting in the office or if we're meeting at their house. I got to look at it anyway. So a lot of times we go over there and we'll meet at their kitchen table. And I kind of prepare them. I'm like, guys, like, we need to kind of clean things up a little bit and remove some personal items. We got to depersonalize. You really kind of want it to be neutral. You don't want a lot of, when we take the pictures, you don't want like family photos showing because it's going to go online and you may not want your face plastered all over the internet.
We need to make sure that they understand how much that speaks to a potential buyer when they come in and see their property or their house for the first time.
Right.
But the things that can be totally avoided and don't cost a lot, just take a little bit of elbow grease or a little bit of time for maintenance, are definitely worth it every time.
It's human nature. You're like, well, they didn't fill the nail holes. What else are they hiding?
Well, don't you like when you make an offer for a buyer and it gets accepted right away?
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. That doesn't happen not the majority of the time, does it?
No, it doesn't. I had somebody texting and call me a while ago. They're like, have you heard anything? I'm like, well, we just submitted it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of offers do get counter-offered.
They do, yeah.
And we encourage counter-offering and not just rejecting.
Right.
We try to talk to our sellers ahead of time that you may get some low offers, and we are obligated in Arkansas to present any offer that we're made aware of. So if someone makes an offer, we have to give it to our client. And so we want them to entertain the offer, even if they think it's insulting, and we want to do the paperwork to counter.
Right, yeah.
Well, so on those deals that we get that aren't accepted right away, then it's kind of negotiation time, right?
Yeah.
I like the negotiation.
I do too. It's fun.
A lot of communication back and forth with your client and some communication with the other agent, the seller or the buyer, the other side, the other party. And two good agents, if the deal's supposed to happen and you have two good agents, then it should happen.
Oh, yeah.
If the buyer loves the house and the seller really wants to sell it and we're so close, that negotiation is so important. That's a great time to communicate with our clients. And I feel like when we are closed, that negotiation time is what they really remember about us.
I'm like, let me take that pressure off of you, and at the end, I've had people like thank me. They're like, "Oh, Kevin, you made it so easy. You made a stressful situation like just so much better."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and those moments, like, I mean, obviously it's a job and we like to get paid, but that's like better than money to me. So
yeah, it's nice to get that kind of compliment or that praise.
Yeah.
So
it feels good that you helped.
Well, it's a true joy to be able to work with our sellers and buyers. Most of us in our brokerage are both, we'll work with buyers and sellers. We're not just designated agents, mainly because of also our area. We're not a big metropolis or a big suburb area. We are very professional and we do our job well. We have fiduciary duty to any client that we've signed an agreement with. But either way, we'll go over some of those misconceptions and talk about them next time.
Sounds good.
I'm Rebecca Seyller with Rice Realty.
And I'm Kevin B. McPherson with Rice Realty. We'll catch you next time.
We're keeping it real.
Keeping it real estate.